It is the year 639 BC, during the reign of King Josiah. Jeremiah obeys his father's plans during the priesthood. Be sure to put away the scrolls when you're done. Yes, father, I will. But then, the Lord came to Jeremiah with a message for the people.
Jeremiah,
Who's there?
I am God. I appointed you to be my prophet to the nations.
Lord, I can't do this. I'm young. I don't know how to...
Do not say you are too young. Go, speak my words to the people. Do not be afraid, for I am with you.
So then it took more than many years for Jeremiah to speak of God's words, until Hilkiah, his father, found the Torah scrolls for King Josiah. The king's advisors too came to him with the law book of Moses. The book of the law has been discovered by a high priest, my king. I see, but he showed it to me twice. The law book truly belongs to Moses. So then Jeremiah and King Josiah both worked together to destroy many of the idol worship until the plan for the battle against the Assyrians and the Egyptians. Then King Josiah tried to fight Pharaoh Necho II and the Egyptians, but unfortunately he was killed at the Battle of Megiddo by the Egyptian archers in 609 BC. Shortly after, his son Jehoahaz took over as Judah's 18th king, but unlike his father, he disobeyed God for all the evil he did. Jeremiah, meanwhile, writes down about the death of Josiah. Then after a while, God spoke to him again to bury it in the rocks until he tells him to retrieve it. But a few days later, he was told to get the loincloth from the soil. As King Jehoahaz continued his rule for 3 months until his revolt against Egypt, but he was taken as prisoner until his death shortly. Then the Egyptians brought Eliakim to the throne, crowned as Judah's 19th king, known as Jehoiakim. During years of Jehoiakim's reign, God gave Jeremiah another message. But Lord, that is the message Uriah spoke, and he said,
Tell them everything. Leave nothing out.
So Jeremiah shortly after also worked with Baruch for the scrolls. This is hard, Jeremiah. We think everyone is against us. I know, but if the people of Jerusalem don't trust us, then we'll both be arrested. But King Jehoiakim was furious of God's trust, so he ordered the guards to arrest Jeremiah and Baruch. Arrest them both! They make a fool on us for trusting one God than other gods. Yes, my king.
If you people worship the false idols, then you defy your God. Stop it! How dare you! Guards, arrest him and Baruch!
Yes, sir. You're under arrest, prophet. Curse! Now we're caught! I'm sorry, Jeremiah. Shortly after both his and Baruch's arrest, Jeremiah once again spoke to God in prison.
Curse the day I was born. Lord, your words are nothing but doom, and many people hate me more. But you are my protector. I'm your prophet, and if you cannot save me, no one can.
Then next morning, Jeremiah was released from prison during the following years of Jerusalem. My king, why should we pay tribute to Babylon? I say we should stop and prepare to fight against them. You're right. Prepare my army ready. We rebel against Babylon at once. Whenever they attack us, we attack too. So King Jehoiakim had no choice, but decides to attack Babylon for once. But unfortunately, during 6 years of the first siege and rebellion against Babylon in Jerusalem, King Jehoiakim was killed by the Babylonian-raided archers. Shortly after Jehoiakim's death, his son, Jehoiakim, took the throne by doing evil like his father. During his reign for 3 months until 597 BC, they were attacked again, led by the Babylonian king himself, Nebuchadnezzar. As Nebuchadnezzar removed the treasures and gold articles from the temple worship, so he took the captives alive, including Daniel, his friends, and the king. Shortly after, Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, succeeded him as Zedekiah, the 21st and last king of Judah. But Zedekiah too also did evil and rebelled against Babylon. My king, we can stop paying tribute to the Pharaoh himself. We can win now. Then later, in 587 BC, after 10 years, the Lord told Jeremiah to make a yoke on his shoulders for another message.
Nations will serve Babylon. If they resist, they will be plagued by famine and war.
Jeremiah brought words before him. Prophet, what is that?
This is you. If you are wise, then place yourself on the yoke of Babylon. Accept the Lord's retribution and know that he's been lenient with you. You dare tell your king to surrender to the king of Babylon! How dare you question the prophet of God, gods!
As Jeremiah continued his message speaking, the king's advisor forced the guards to break the yoke, then beat Jeremiah the prophet up shortly before taking him away. King Zedekiah is impressive as he watched his guards beating up Prophet Jeremiah.
Now, gods, take him away!
God is bringing us disaster!
Then later, the guards escorted Jeremiah out of the king's palace all the way to the well, and the guards threw him down into the well. And Jeremiah fell in the bottom of the well on the ground. Jeremiah was unseen but not forgotten, so then he waits.
Lord, have I been forsaken? Will I die here?
So then King Nebuchadnezzar arrived again in Jerusalem with the army of Babylon for the third and final siege outside for 18 months.
No one escapes. It begins right here, right now.
And now finally,
What?
for some time later, help did came to Jeremiah, and they dragged him out of the well and got something to say.
We came here to rescue you, Jeremiah. Thanks, Ebed-Melech, but I must speak to the king alone.
As Zedekiah sat alone with him, he heard Jeremiah arriving again. Prophet, have you came to speak to me alone while the priests were here?
For our need, if you don't come and surrender to the king of Babylon, all Jerusalem will burn. You wrote many words in the scroll, and yes, God will save us.
You know what this means to you, my king.
You're too late.
I'm sorry, Prophet. I had no choice, but decided to not surrender. Meanwhile, the Babylonians began the final battle at night.
Archers, ready! Fire!
And then the Babylonian archers began to fire the arrows up higher toward the walls. And the arrows fell into the city of David by killing and injuring many soldiers and people. But other people scattered as the city is burning. So then Nebuchadnezzar commanded his men to break the gates.
Now! Now! Defend the gates, men! They're coming again! Strike hard! Strike hard and victory will be ours! Whenever is left of Jerusalem! Help yourselves!
The Babylonians charged into the city, cutting down the army and the people before making their way to the temple.
Put them to the temple!
So Zedekiah, meanwhile, escapes with his sons through a secret passageway.
You must be brave for me. Look, don't worry, Jeremiah. You too, Melchizedek, will be safe.
Meanwhile, at the Temple of Solomon,
Take everything! We're gonna burn the temple to the ground! Yes, sir.
Jeremiah, meanwhile, sees the temple burn.
Look! The temple's on fire!
The temple! As others stand with him to witness the fall and burning of the Temple of Solomon on that night, many generations of hopes and dreams are destroyed. And so they flee away. Meanwhile, King Nebuchadnezzar arrives at the ruins of the city of Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is finally ours, and our victory. Now find Zedekiah. Find his family. Yes, my king. There's a price for betrayal.
Shortly after, the sun rises up as Zedekiah and his sons made their way to the plains of Jericho.
Don't worry, my boys. We're safe now.
Then suddenly, the Babylonian horsemen arrived at a distance away from them, and they were caught at the plains of Jericho.
Oh no.
So then the Babylonians brought them to their king.
King Zedekiah, son of Josiah, this is the last thing you've ever seen.
Meanwhile, at Riblah, the Babylonian king ordered his guards to slay Zedekiah's sons. And then they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. Zedekiah was shocked as he found out what happened. And so Nebuchadnezzar ordered the captain to put out Zedekiah's eyes.
Blind him and bring him. Yes, my king.
And blind him before taking him to Babylon. Shortly after, the Babylonians heard Jeremiah's prophecies, and then they set him free. But he wants to stay and start writing the lamentations about the ruins of Jerusalem, especially the temple being destroyed now fell into ruin. But Jeremiah had no choice. He decides to leave for Egypt. He asked Baruch to send a message letter to the Darian regent himself.
Give this to your messenger for the regent when we leave to Egypt.
I will, Jeremiah. Baruch agreed and sends it to the regent while heading to Egypt. As many more people of the Jews, including the king of Judah, were driven into exile toward Babylon, all hope for the city, their prophet, and their king were lost. Zedekiah's rule of Israel ends here. As Jeremiah was saved by Gedaliah, he now heads to Egypt, never to return there again. But especially the last surviving children of Zedekiah, Moloch, Scata, and Tamar too came with them. A moment later, Lord and Regent Odor received the letter from the Hebrews written by Jeremiah himself. And it was written in the scroll letter that the Jews were exiled. So he came back to his sons for the rescue mission of the Hebrews from the captivity. I have a rescue mission for your brother except you, the one who won't fail me. So he sends his older son Antilos, captain of the tower, to rescue the Jewish people from the Babylonian captivity. Unfortunately, he failed and was killed by the Babylonians from orders of King Nebuchadnezzar. And then 4 years later, Gedaliah was murdered at the hands of Ishmael and 10 men to go. After Gedaliah's death, the Babylonians blamed on Ishmael and 10 men for this, while Jeremiah makes a plan.
We must make sure when the blind king's daughter is ready. I'll go to Ireland with her.
I agree, Jeremiah. So then Jeremiah, Tamar, and the Milesian Greeks set sail from Tephanes all the way to the Milesian land called Ireland, the city of Gales, for continuing the dynasty of David. As Jeremiah arrived in Ireland with Tamar, now Tehathphi, he meets the king of Ireland for the first time.
I came to Ireland with the daughter of the blinded king of Judah for reuniting the line of Judah.
What for, Jewish prophet of your God?
For the dynasty of David to continue here in Ireland.
And finally, the king's son, Yoshed and Tehathphi were both married by reuniting the bloodline of Zara and Pharez, the twin sons of Judah, in 575 BC. Meanwhile, in Babylon, many Jewish people were in captivity and now in exile for 70 years. Israel needs a different leader, a man like Daniel, as the new prophet in the Babylonian exile.